Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And a couple of birthday cards using a combination of some of the just released products from Simon Says Stamp's March release, along with a couple of oldie but goodie products, specifically background stamps. And yeah, today's video is part of, or my post is going to be part of a blog hop sharing inspiration for this new release. And I will have info in my blog post, which is linked directly below the video. Highly recommend checking it out because there's going to be links to other makers, tons of inspiration, giveaways, a discount code, all the good things. So make sure you check that out below. And then as always, I will of course have my supply list with links to all the supplies I used, which are affiliate links. And all that means is if you use one of my links and you end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from it at no extra cost to you. That's what helps pay the bills, keeps the channel running, all the things. And yeah, multiple backgrounds. Well, two backgrounds. Layering stamps, mica stain spray, or distress mica stain. I keep them all lined up in my blurry background there. All the distress mica stains in rainbow order, as we do. And yeah, I pulled out a mica stain spray and a color combo that just, I was grabbing things at random. Really, this entire thing, this was kind of like playtime. And then I was like, I'm just gonna finish these cards and we're just going with it. So keep watching. I'll show you guys how I made them. So I'm starting off with my background stamps, and the first one is the Simon Says Stamp thank you text background. I've used this in a bajillion videos. It adds perfect texture, and even though these are birthday cards, the text kind of is irrelevant because once everything's said and done, it literally is just kind of a textural element. So I just have the stamp face up on my work surface, and I inked it up with just a light gray ink. This is Simon's FLANNEL Positively Saturated ink, and this will dry back. Like right now, when I first stamp it, it's a fair bit more intense, but it'll soften and dry back. It'll be fine. So I inked up the stamp with that, and then I'm just pressing panels of Simon's smooth white cardstock. These are A2 sized panels. And then the second background stamp, this is the not quite a dot background. This came out last year, I think. I didn't have it. I came across it in Simon's store and I was like, this is the perfect little background for just, again, adding kind of little bits of texture. So I ordered it and I just got it this week in one of my orders. And I was like, yeah. So it was sitting here and I'm like, I need to use it. So this one I inked up with surf ink, so a nice aqua shade, and same thing, just press these backgrounds into it, and just that alone I was like, okay, this is fun. I've got text and that, and then, but wait, there's more. Now we're gonna start stenciling. So I'm using my Waffle Flower grip mats. I've linked to the one that fits inside the Misty. This specific one I'm using, the 8.5 inch one, is not available right now. They've technically been discontinued, but I think they're going to be replacing them later on in the year. It's supply chain issues, just the usual chaos. So anywho, I'm just using them to hold my cardstock and stencils in place. And I have the card front, and then I have what will be my card base, so the inside of my card on the other one. And I have some Post-it tape right where the score line is, so I don't end up adding ink past that. And then for this first stencil layer, I'm blending on, it's going to be 3 different colors. I originally was only going to do 2. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's technically 3 flower shapes. Let's do 3 colors. And I'm using my smaller blending brushes for this. That makes it just easier, so I don't have to worry about trying to mask off, some of the open areas, etc. I was just go in with a smaller brush. It's faster. So I'm using honey, watermelon, and violet inks, and I'll have links, everything listed and linked below with the supplies. And after I did that first layer on what will be the card front, I take the stencil, put it on the inside of the card, and I don't re-ink my brush or anything, and I use a lighter hand, so it's going to be much lighter and much softer on the inside of the card, which is exactly what I want because I want to be able to write over that. and then I repeat the process. So I've super sped this up in editing. I don't blend this fast, but it was still fairly quick. And I'm doing the exact same thing. So I started with my yellow ink, and then I added the watermelon and then the violet, and then I take the stencil, stick it onto the inside of the card, and then just kind of take whatever ink is left on the stencil, is left on the brush, and stencil that onto the inside of the card. And then you just keep repeating this. So this next stencil has just the little leaf images, and for that I used TROPIC ink and blended that on, and then popped that over onto the inside of the card and just a lighter hand, and then repeat on the second card front and the second card base. So really simple. Also, I found these stencils were really easy to line up. Sometimes it takes me a little bit depending on like the pattern and the type of stencils, etc. These ones just lined up really easily. I thought I would just point that out. I don't know why. Because yeah, generally most layering stencils are pretty simple to line up, but sometimes I have difficulties. Anyway. For the last layer, which is the flower centers, I used WOODSY ink. So very neutral sort of brown color, and heavier handed, of course, on the card front, and then very light hand on the inside of the card. And it was at this point that I was like, I have things that are like similar to this like sort of woodsy color. And then I was thinking about splatter, of course, when am I not? And I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't used my mica stains in a while. So this is Fallen Acorn mica stain. And if you've never worked with these, they need to be shaken up really, really well, because all the shimmery mica goodness settles to the bottom of the bottle. So I shook it up really well. I stuck these card fronts into my little splat box, and just a light spray. I'm not trying to cover these backgrounds, but it just adds, that splatter and texture. And in real life, it's got, the shimmery, sparkly bits. I'll kind of be able to show that at the end, but not very effectively. But yeah, they're also shimmery. So anyhow, I set those aside to dry. And then for my the focus kind of is this fancy large happy birthday wafer die. This thing is huge. I ended up having to change the orientation because I was going to do my cards in portrait orientation, but this wafer die is too big. That's how big it is. Well, you can tell it takes up an A2 card front, which love. So I pulled that out and I used what I'm pretty sure, because of course I didn't have it labeled, and I think I need to order more because I only have 2 sheets left of it. I'm pretty sure this is Simon's Emerald glitter paper. It's so pretty. It goes nicely with the Tropic ink color. That's why I pulled it out, and I was like, yeah, I've only got the 2 sheets and a couple little scraps left of it. So I'm like, crap, need to order more. But from what I can see online, I'm pretty sure it's this color. It's gorgeous. So anyway, I die cut the Emerald glitter cardstock with the word wafer dies, and then the plain cardstock I'm pretty sure was some Concord 9th. I just chose a color that was somewhat similar, and I stacked just 2 layers together. So 1 layer of just the cardstock words, and then the top layer of the glitter die cuts, and then I adhered these to the outline that I die cut from vellum. And then the remaining cardstock layer of the words I'm adhering behind. I've shown this in other videos. I don't always do this. It just depends on the die cut, my mood, all the different things. But having the cardstock sentiment on the back of the vellum, it pops the vellum up just a smidge, just a little bit, so it floats a little more, and it gives it that little extra something. Plus it just makes it easier to adhere, because as you can see, adhesive shows through vellum. And in the past, more often than not, I would just carefully trace along the back of the vellum, to hide the adhesive behind the die cut sentiments, which a lot of times is fine. But ones like this that are a bit more finicky, a bit bigger, etc., it was it's just easier to add the cardstock to the back, because then I'll be able to adhere it by just adding adhesive to the cardstock, which I will show in a couple minutes. So I did that with my sentiments, got them stacked together on their vellum. And then I pulled out this is the new A2 nesting frames wafer dies. And I die cut some scraps of this sort of heavyweight craft cardstock. Actual heavy stock, like the distress heavy stock, would work even better than this. This stuff is a little bit thinner than heavy stock. It was fine in the end, but I would recommend heavy stock. Like I said, I was grabbing things at random when I was making these. So I die cut the frames. And then I'm putting them in my splat box because I want them to be the same color as the brown, you know, splatter, the flower centers, etc. So I put them in my splat box and then I sprayed them with that Fallen Acorn Distress Mica stain. So it'll give them the color, plus they'll be shimmery and fabulous. And to adhere them, because they've been sprayed and they aren't actual heavy stocks, they're a little bit flimsy. You could add like another, you know, die cut behind it to be fine. But I just used the center piece that was left over from die cutting the frames, and that's just sitting on these card fronts, and that's just giving me that little bit of a guide to adhere these frames into place and just get them straight, get them centered, etc. And then those pieces, of course, I'll just keep, you know, for other projects. So let that sit on the card front, and then put the adhesive along the back of the frame, and then that way I could just, you know, start at one corner there and get that frame into place. And then because it was liquid glue, it gives me a few seconds to zhuzh it around. And then adhering the sentiment, super easy, because I can just apply the adhesive on the back of that cardstock, so I'm not worried about tracing behind the vellum and not adding too much glue, because if it oozes out on the vellum, you can see it. So that's why I do things the way I do them. So I got those adhered into place, and then my card bases, you could just leave them like this on the insides, you know, because the flowers are so pretty, but I wanted to add a sentiment as well. So I pulled out the Cue the Confetti stamp set, because these sentiments, one, they're like big and bold, and they just kind of go nicely too with the die cut sentiment, because they got the little, you know, flourishes and whatnot. So I picked out one of the sentiments and lined that up with my Misty, and then I'm stamping it onto the insides of these cards with that same woodsy ink, just to tie it all together. So once I've got that stamped into place, my card fronts, I'm going to adhere to the card bases. And I did think about doing, like, all of this could have been done like just on the card base, so like a 1-layer card. However, the reason I don't do that is because I make a mess. I make stains, I smear inks, you know, all the things. So it's just so much easier to do it separately and then just glue it onto the card base at the end. Because people have asked about that. So that's why. It's because I'm clumsy. I can't help myself. So as my final bit of embellishment, I'm using these are the, when they shake, I love these little containers. The Rainbow Pawsitively Dazzling Gems. I love these. I've actually bought another pack as backup. Yeah, they reflect rainbow colors depending on how you tilt them in the light. Love. So sprinkled those onto both of these card fronts, and then just adhered them into place with little dabs of craft tacky glue. Just picking them up with my little embellishment wand, pressing them into the glue, let the glue dry, and these cards are complete. So I'm going to turn on my flashlight and try to show this shimmery, sparkly goodness. It definitely picks up the sparkle on that glitter paper, which is chef's kiss. Love it. And then, yeah, that Fallen Acorn, like the spray and the frame, love. All the layers I did with the stamps and the stencils, these were fun. So like I mentioned in the intro, I will have links to all the things in the description box below the video, as well as a link to my blog post where all the info about the hop and the giveaways, etc. are. So you can just expand the description box for all that information if you're interested. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping and commenting. Subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you. And I'll be seeing you all very soon in the next video. Bye.